Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Java with John. I'm John Reyhons, the General Manager at Iron Oaks, and I have a very special guest today, Ann Burbank. Ann, welcome to Java with John.
Thank you for having me, John.
My pleasure, and we've got lots to talk about today, so I'm glad you're here. First, Ann, you are a member of the Board of Directors and also the Treasurer of the community.
That is correct.
That's wonderful.
That is correct.
How long have you been on the board?
I've been on the board since fall of 2018.
That's terrific. And how long have you lived here in our community?
24 plus years.
Amazing. That's great. And where are you and your husband Ray originally from?
We're originally from Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
High school sweethearts.
Is that right? That's amazing. Congratulations. And tell the viewers a little bit about your professional background.
I have a diverse financial background. I did a number of years in banking, bank auditor, compliance officer, security officer for the bank. I managed branches. Lastly, I was vice president over all of bank and branch operations, both lending and the branch side of things. So very busy.
That's great. That's wonderful. Very interesting background.
I'm a numbers gal. I'm a numbers gal.
Obviously. And you've been on the board for several years. What do you enjoy about being a director?
It is such an honor and a privilege to be able to serve our community. And because my husband and I have lived here so long, it's payback. It's an opportunity to give back to my community and serve based upon my skill set and background and hopefully make a difference. But it is work. It is a challenge. And sometimes it's more work and sometimes it's more of a challenge. But it is such a blessing to be able to serve and work alongside my fellow board members, to be able to work closely with the committees and get the opportunity to more closely know the staff that is managing our operations. So I count it a joy to serve here.
That's great. Well, I can't thank you enough, Ann. I've worked in many homeowner associations and private clubs, and I got to tell you, you're the best treasurer I've ever had the pleasure of working with. The amount of time and effort you put in, your expertise, your knowledge of the daily ongoings is amazing, and you're always so helpful for those who are seeking financial information about our community. You work well hand in hand with the management, so again, thank you, because you do put in an awful lot of time, and that shouldn't go unnoticed here. And I hope all of you at home appreciate Ann's hard work, because she's here day in and day out. So great job. So let's turn the page a little bit, Ann.
Well, first I want to say it's a good thing I paid you to say that, right? Okay. Thank you, John. It's my privilege.
But you are doing lots of things right now, because we are ramping up. So there's this thing, and it's kind of a big thing, called a strategic plan that we're diving into.
Yes.
What's that all about as it relates to the financial picture here?
Well, John, earlier this year, our homeowners, a majority of our homeowners, by the way, directed the board as a result of a strategic survey of the direction that our board needs to take. And that defines our vision, our plan, our future for Iron Oaks. I looked at it and said, there's some components on this strategic survey that are very pricey. And I said, how are we going to pay for this? Where's the money going to come from? That's very important to me, because you know my theme is show me the money.
Show me the money, that's
show
right.
Me the money.
And this is a large undertaking, and I'm glad we're doing this stuff, because a community of this size certainly needs a strategic plan that's looking forward 5, 10, 15 years out. So on the financial end, we can start planning and figure out how to go from A to Z. So, Ann, let me just ask you, because I know a lot of viewers are thinking the same thing I am, where the heck is all that money going to come from?
First, I'd like to review briefly the three pots of money that we have here at Iron Oaks. First, we have the operating fund, and the operating fund is designed to deal with the everyday running of the business, the operation, keeping the lights on, paying the utility bills, paying the staff, dealing with all things maintenance regarding our properties. In addition to that, the operating fund provides some capital for smaller projects that don't meet the definition of the FACE fund, the Facilities and Community Enhancements Fund. In addition to that, the operating fund provides a contingency for unordinary expenses that come along. And in our community, with our aging property, we have those incidences that arise, and we're going to have to pay for them, and they're not funded by any other source. One of the components that we're dealing with inside of the operating fund, unordinary expenses, is the Ironwood Arrowville wall. While we have a little bit of funding inside of the reserve fund, it's less than $10,000, and that's exclusively for paint and repair, and that's minor repairs. Another item that we have that came upon us recently is the direction from the Arizona Department of Water Resources that's going to translate into some costs for turf reduction. Unknown at this point, but there will be a cost. There is nothing inside of any of our other operating funds, the FACE fund or the reserve fund, to address that. So that will have to be absorbed inside of our operating fund. Secondly, and the funding source for our operating fund is our annual homeowner assessment. The second fund that we have is our reserve fund, and that is restricted money exclusively for the repair and replacement of the over 600 components inside of our reserve study. That is clearly defined, and while we have about $10 million set aside, the 2021 reserve study estimated that the total replacement cost of all of our components is over $40 million.
Wow. Now, you had a key word in there. You said it's restricted, and that means we can't use it for anything else. That $10 million that we have in there is solely dedicated to existing facility repair and maintenance.
Exactly.
And we use that money, it sounds like to me, so we don't kick the can down the road and get behind in our repair and maintenance work. Is that right?
That is correct. When we get the study from our professional provider, which is Association Reserves, we are provided 30 years worth of data on every component. That 30 years of data is tracked, so we have a handle on exactly what's coming due and when. And we understand there's emergencies that occur, and we have to bring some forward and move some out to deal with that. But it's exclusively for that purpose, so that $10 million is restricted money. And lastly, we have the FACE fund, which stands for, again, the Facilities and Community Enhancements Fund. That is the pot of money that is designated for the future strategic projects of our organization, of Iron Oaks. The funding of this comes from new home buyers moving into the community. And on average, we get approximately $500,000. Now, that's all dependent upon the real estate market. So if we get about $500,000 a year, you can understand, and we have 1.6 million sitting in there now. That money for one small project basically can be gone. So if we're looking at anything as a major cost, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, and that is not unreasonable in this inflationary environment. And as example, look at Cottonwood Palo Verde. They built their new fitness center, $3.8 million, and they chose to fund it via a special assessment at over $600 per lot. We do not have a lot of resources. 1.6 mil is not going to last very long.
You got that right. We were just talking about the improvements that are on the drawing board for Ironwood Clubhouse. And that 1.6 million that we currently have in phase fund, if the board so chooses to move forward with that project, we could consume all those dollars rather quickly. And so that's why you're talking about those transfer fees from home sales, which are so important, which creates the fund for all the new bells and whistles that we'd like to see here. Terrific.
Exactly. And again, show me the money.
Show me the money. So here we are. We've got the strategic plan coming down the road. Sounds like we're doing okay in reserves, but you caught my ear there, and it also seems we might be a little light there too, looking forward. If we've got $10 million in the bank and $40 million worth of stuff, we might have a little saving to do there as well. And then the phase fund, we just spoke about how we need to kind of increase that, and that's really based and predicated on the real estate market, on their ups and downs. So we probably need something a little bit more solid in terms of funding to launch the strategic plan. And at this point, we have no idea the amount of dollars we're talking about, but I think it's fair to say it's probably in the millions if we want to improve. And this is from the survey. We've heard things from the fitness center. We've heard it from poolside, things like that, of areas of enhancement that would improve homeowner values, but also improve existing homeowners' genuine experience here at Iron Oaks.
You know, our homeowners understand we need to be viable in a very competitive 55 and older senior community in the valley. We have so many other senior communities that we're in competition with. We have to be prepared to spend money in order to move us forward. We have to be able to do that. And more importantly, what we're looking to do is to develop some funding sources that we may not have researched already. And more importantly, we want to be able to fund these projects without having to avoiding a special assessment. We don't want to have to put a special assessment on regularly on the back of our homeowners when we may have alternatives that will avoid that. And that's our goal.
And there you go. Now this leads me to a different topic. The president of the board of directors, Joe Diamore, he assigned you a big task with a new group name. And the group name is the Strategic Revenue Optimization Project. Tell us about that group, who's on it, what's involved, and what's the goal?
Well, actually, I will confess I was the originator of that title because I'm looking for show me the money of optimizing any revenue resource that we may not have already looked at. You know, there have been leadership in our association for many years since we transitioned from Robeson. And they've periodically stepped forward, created task force, addressed items, dealt with all things, including reviewing our governing documents. And this is just following in their footsteps, basically. The Strategic Revenue Optimization Project, which we term as SROP, is comprised of 2 representatives from master planning, 2 representatives from finance, 2 representatives from buildings and grounds, 3 board members, and 2 from senior management. And why this group of individuals? Because these are the people who are going to be directly impacted by any project that is going to occur. And by virtue of their charters of the committees, they are tasked with a variety of components of any project. For example, master planning is charged with developing a strategic plan, a vision for the future of Iron Oaks. But they need to know, where's the money going to come from and what's the timeline? How do we need to be planning this? So they need to be at the table. We have finance. Finance is charged with budgeting and forecasting. They're looking at all of the resources for any project. And they're doing financial modeling. And they need to know what is master planning going to need so we can look at the resources to determine where is the money going to come from and what's going to be available so they can assist. Inside of any project, you're going to find that there are going to be reserve components that will come out of that, new components. Finance also is tasked with ensuring there's adequate funding of the reserve fund, and the funding source of that comes as part of the homeowner assessment. For 2021, the assessment is $2,175. 26% of that, or $580, goes directly into the reserve fund. Well, when we get a new project, there are going to be new components. That means there's going to be a larger dollar amount for future repair and replacement of those components. So that's the role of finance. They're kind of the hub. Buildings and grounds, they are charged with the oversight of the common areas. They are charged with making proposals for improvement and for collaborating with the finance committee on the reserve fund. And they monitor the components. They're looking at the tangible asset, whereas finance is looking at the monetary fiscal side of it. The board, we are there to support the committees and driving appropriate change that's in the best interest of our community. And senior management is there, because we have to remember senior management, because you're charged with supporting the vision. You're charged with the everyday of operation of how this will be implemented and managed accordingly. So all the players impact each other in one form or another, and they all need to be at the table. That is why this task force, and that is why they are at the table. They are working together. They have to communicate with each other to drive this challenge that we have. And the challenge is, and the purpose is, that we have to identify new revenue resources that will allow us to fund the strategic objectives in a manner that is protecting every homeowner, not only on the short term, but also on the long term. And that these revenue sources will provide the foundation wherein we don't have to do a special assessment.
That's terrific. This has been great information. I know all of you at home will enjoy listening to this. It's been a learning experience for me here at Iron Oaks. I've been here for a couple of years, and it's nice to see the strategic initiative really take place. And Ann, not that you don't have enough to do right now, we're just jumping into the 2022 budget process right around the corner. How about that?
And I already have the board providing input that'll be on your desk later this week.
I can't wait, Ann. Anyway, thanks so much. It's always good to hear from you. Again, you just do such fabulous things for our community. I can't thank you enough for all that you do. We appreciate you very much and always look forward to working with you. So thank you, Ann, for being here today.
Thank you for having me, and understand this community means the world to me. And everyone sitting at the table on the Strategic Revenue Optimization Project wants to do the right thing for this community, and they feel the same way and have the same passion I do. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. For all of you at home, thanks for joining me for this session with Job with John. And don't forget, a couple Fridays from now, Brooks and Dunn is going to be right here in your ballroom. Take care and stay well.